Good afternoon. Welcome to the final Human Results podcast of 2020. Alasdair, where you were this time last year and where you are now. Wow. How's it been for you as HR?
Well, it'd been an extraordinary year, Ben. I mean, as far as what clients have had to put up with, what we as a nation, as a family, friends, everybody, it's been quite extraordinary. Luckily, all my closest family and friends are all safe, and those that have had COVID have survived it and don't seem to have any ongoing complications. But it's been a remarkable year, and one which obviously has caused a huge amount of pain and suffering in certain quarters more than others. A lot of inequality. It just so much depends on what market sector you're in business as to whether or not it's been a good or a bad year. Some clients have had extraordinarily good years, partly helped probably by being able to furlough some employees while still maintaining productivity at very good levels. But obviously any clients in hospitality, that's been devastated. And also the clients, businesses who are influenced by other businesses, like in our offices here, there's a company, they've moved out. They supplied iPads to conference centres and to companies who were having annual conferences, and they'd rent them out for a week at a time. Had been expanding and really quite rapidly in recent years, but they've obviously had a torrid year and have moved out from our premises. And yes, those companies who rely on Joe Public out and about, whether it's hospitality, whether it's retail, have had a bad time. It's been exceptionally difficult for companies in the care sector, with all of the additional burden on them in terms of regulatory requirements, health and safety requirements, and keeping everybody and everything COVID secure as best as possible. So it's been immensely stressful for companies and their staff.
Yeah. Have you felt more like, I don't know, you've not perhaps felt like a normal HR consultant this year? Has there been some change of philosophy, some change of way of thinking? How's it felt dealing with people on the human level when it's nobody's fault? Whereas a lot of the cases you normally deal with, it's somebody's fault, either party's fault, isn't it? Whereas this year, it's not really anybody's fault.
No, I think that's right. But I think what we are seeing in the last quarter is the slow trickle that's getting more rapid of potential for disputes. We're seeing, whilst you'll remember, Ben, we've had updates before on the changes to COVID schemes, to the job retention schemes, and the intention that was going to be eased out by the end of October. Now, of course, here we are. It's been extended and extended again to the end of April. But it has resulted in difficult decisions being taken in August, September, when companies were making use of the ability to subsidise notice pay during staff being on furlough, those that were unfortunately being made redundant. But we are now seeing the first signs of litigation due to difficult choices having been made in that period. Cases are coming through, and the employment tribunals up and down the land are already experiencing substantial delay, and their resources are being stretched, and it's only going to get worse. Next year is going to be a very, very difficult year. I think this year, in the early part of the year in particular, once the Chancellor stepped in with the job retention scheme, it saved a lot of people's jobs at that time, and ensured that millions of people did receive some remuneration. But I think next year, whilst we've had the cushion of it this year, I think next year we're going to start to see the real impact. So not a happy way to end the year in that regard, with the fabled third wave already happening in the southeast, and with the new variant of COVID-19 helping to contribute to about 30 European countries, or 30 countries around the world already closing their borders to us. So throw in Brexit, and it's a perfect storm, isn't it?
It is. It is. Let's not jump. Just
happy Christmas note, then. Yes.
I was going to say yes, Chip. No, let's not jump ahead to looking forward to next New Year. New Year. Yeah. Ruin my script here.
Yeah.
Now I know, obviously, the amount of conversations we've had. You've had a very, very busy year, and unfortunately, I say unfortunately because it's not always the good way. But HR businesses have no doubt been busier than they were the year before. Is it quantity of customers, or is it quantity of work from the same customers that's changed?
A bit of both, really, I suppose, Ben. From a personal experience, I mean, we've, as you might expect, companies such as ours, their services have been more in demand. We've had, I thank all my renewing retainer clients for that. We've had a positive year in that regard, and I hope that we've helped along the way to take a little bit of the stress away from it, from the trading situation, and from employing staff. I think that certainly we've been very busy at times with all things furlough and COVID-19 related, but of course we've, the spin-off from that and the pandemic has also, of course, been restructuring and redundancy as well. But it's been a busy year in that regard. Hard to keep up with things that people need to focus on next. Certainly from the beginning of January, we are on to a new points-based immigration system. We've got those with EU passports. They're good to go still until June. Employers in this country, if they've got new starters, and believe it or not, some do, some do, which is great. But those new starters, if they've got an EU passport from a member state, they're okay, at least until June. But then certainly they're going to have to be producing the residency rights, hopefully not too onerous. And we'll see how this new points-based system starts to pan out with the wider world, and indeed our EU partners and staff employees that want to come over.
We do need to look forward to 2021, but how far can we look forward? Any further than January in the Brexit deal, or can we look further forward than that? Obviously, we've got the vaccine rolled out. There's not really a lot now we can do with COVID. We've got to wait for the vaccine to take effect, I think, and that's the
there's always new things. This year's been quite quiet on the new things front. Employment status, IR35. I recommend any companies out there who employ self-employed workers, whether that's IT profession, it's always been prevalent in construction,
media,
copywriting, and all sorts of industries rely very heavily on self-employed associates. We ourselves at times in human results, especially when we're delivering training and L&D training, outplacement services, we've had to draft in our network of associates to help with delivery when we've had to scale up for projects. So IR35 is still intending to happen for April. So I would recommend that companies give that some serious thought. They should have been already, if it's commonplace in their own business to do that. So there's that. There are some subtle changes with things like modern day slavery statements. So there are changes to the rules on that. That tends to impact on larger companies with more than £36 million turnover. But there are some changes there. I think what else might be on the horizon?
What impact is Brexit either way going to have? We just need to know now, don't we?
Well, look, Ben, we're starting with the same the same regulatory framework as we had, except we don't have the European Court of Justice to go running off to now. But EU law, as it stands, has been enshrined into UK statute. So it's business as usual at first. There will be, over time, we will see some divergence, no doubt. It'll be measured, it won't be dramatic. It'll be a bit more, perhaps a bit more UK centric in terms of interpretation of the rules. We'll see we will see some court decisions based on what the statute is intended to produce, what's actually the literal rule, as opposed to the spirit of the law, which is a bit more European in its approach. And we'll certainly see some of that. I'm guessing around areas like working time directive and things like that. The areas around working time might be open for a retweak on interpretation, but it's still early days. We'll see those cases trickling through, I'm sure. But yes, over time we're bound to see some divergence, but it won't be dramatic in the early years, especially. I mean, we are a first world country, and we are overly regulated, some might say. I don't see workers' rights being cut, despite certain noises. I don't see there's going to be any dramatic change to workers' rights. We've still got minimum wage rates way over and above what's the case in some parts of the EU. We more than exceed the minimum standards in a lot of areas, holidays and things like that. We gave away, as a country, we made it as law that we provide better holiday provision than the EU minimum, and that was the last Labour administration. But it's not something that the Tories have changed in the past 10 years. So I'm not seeing any dramatic changes in that just yet. I think it's going to be a year of consolidation in a lot of areas, and it's going to be quite tough. I think that there's going to be a lot of COVID-19 related tribunal litigation. So I would urge any companies, either those who are on retainer with us, keep making those payments to us to keep your insurance premiums up, because we're there to help and follow our, I'd like to think, commercial advice. So we're not risk averse. We will take risks for clients where it's permissible risk and not undue risk. And follow best practice, but there will be claims, there will be redundancy related claims where people feel they've got nothing to lose. They're going to be desperate, sadly.
That brings me nicely on to Human Results itself now. As I say, you've had a company wise, you've had a good year. Business has increased, although it's not the way you wanted it to increase, but it's increased. What's 2021 bringing? Because I know I've heard on the grapevine there might be a brand new website for certain areas of your business, etc.
Yes, perhaps not quite so dramatic as a brand new site, but certainly some landing pages for Iguana HR, our software which we've developed over the last couple of years, which we've been slowly rolling out with existing retainers who've wanted it. And it's gone very well. It's gone down very well. It's being well used, but we are edging towards the marketing more thoroughly of that as a standalone IT solution. So that's going to be exciting. I hope we find a new norm from the sort of combination of remote working and me in the office on my own. Try and strike a balance on that and see a few more faces. But I think the first quarter is going to be tough. I think we're looking at a difficult time in terms of being able to get out and see people. So a lot more Zoom and phone calls, I expect, Ben. But I do hope though that I will get out and about later in the year and get out and see and visit clients. Yeah. So next year, yes, we hope to get that moving properly, and I think it represents a good additional service to our clients, and I hope also to expand the team a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I think from the whole local industry, I think you've provided so much information and helped during a very, very difficult year. I know many of them would like to say thank you, and certainly know where to come when they need the HR advice. It's top class from your good self, as it always has been, and you've certainly proven yourself to be at the top of your game this year.
Well, thank you, Ben. It's been it's been certainly not been dull at any time. Certainly not work-wise. It's not been dull. I think that I think things that businesses need to think about going forward next year is it's a good time to have their contracts looked at closely. I'm already seeing where individuals have left the workplace, set up in competition. Watch those restrictive covenants. Do you have any? Are they suitable? Are they fit for purpose? Is it time to have them reviewed? That protection of your own goodwill is vital. We have to be running a lean ship. All of us as employers have to be efficient. That may sadly mean making efficiencies, which is a quaint euphemism for cutting headcount often, but some of those efficiencies might well result in disputes. So get advice at an early stage. Make sure that you follow a fair process. Make sure you document it well. Make sure you've dotted I's and crossed T's, and give yourself the best possible outcome. Deal with staff with dignity and be kind. It's a tough time. I think much like the last recession, employees affected by redundancy are more likely to perhaps concede that companies have tried lots of things before they've reached that stage, and they might well take it on the chin. But if there's anything unusual, or if they feel that others have stayed and kept their posts and they're thinking, why me? You've just got to be able to articulate why, and trust in your own systems and processes followed, but be prepared for disputes, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is at the moment. But great sound advice to finish off the year. I think we'd also like to thank all our friends that have come on the podcasts and the vodcasts and have helped us give their stories. They've certainly made an impact with people, haven't they? And there's a few that have still got to.
Yes, I mean, obviously we've had a couple of on from the hospitality and events industries, and what an absolute horror show it's been for them. And I hope next year that at some point, people get the chance to let their hair down, what's left of it, and have some fun and remember those venues, and get out and spend some money if you've got it, and enjoy the hospitality. We're fortunate here to at least be able to still go and have a pint, provided, of course, it's at least with a Scotch egg.
I've just finished off 4 from there. I brought shopping last week, so I need to go shopping again.
Yeah. So it does mean, of course, taking the wife and kids out for a meal, which sometimes defeats the object of wanting to go to the pub. But we are fortunate in that respect, and those people who are stuck working from home and can't get out, can't visit family, then they have my heartfelt sympathies this year. It's going to be a quiet and lonely Christmas for some, but a quiet and relaxing Christmas with very little immediate pressures for others, and we just have to think of those less fortunate this time of year. So remind me to go and finish off my Christmas donations list.
that brings me nicely around to the final part. I'd just like to assure everybody we're not doing a Christmas Day message on the In Results podcast. Alasdair has definitely said it all this year.
Yes, it's a somewhat somber Christmas this year, but I hope that let's hope we all get at least a restful Christmas and we keep safe.
We do.
And we catch up with loved ones in the flesh soon enough, even if we can only speak to them on the phone this year. Yeah.
And for everyone at Moody's, Alasdair, thank you for being a great podcast guest and giving the information you have. You've given it freely. Signing off now, hopefully till 2021. I don't have to get on an emergency podcast between now and the new year.
Have a good break, man.
I'll have a good break.
Perhaps in the new year we can do a proper look at where we're at with Brexit, because we're still not there yet. We're still not there yet, but I've got some ideas about where things may change for us in the short to medium term. Nothing dramatic, but let's see.
Yeah.
First things first, remind people that Britain is a welcoming place to immigrants, and whilst as a large multicultural society, it has its moments. We are basically a welcoming place, and I think that the new immigration system, it's time for the government to prove that we are indeed global Britain and all of that, and let's get out and build back from the absolute horror story it's been this year. And let's hope for the best for 2021 and beyond.
Let's hope so. I've just found out there was a news conference this afternoon from Downing Street, but no more Boris. Please just leave us all alone now to have a Christmas. No, brilliant. Alasdair, we will be back for 2021 with Brexit. Have a good Christmas, sir, and all the best to your family.
Thank you. Bye then.